A quick call.
Great. Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, Joe, so it cost me a few $100 already,
No doubt.
plus.
Kind of bad planning on the governor's part.
Yeah, I mean, 2 days ahead of time. It would have been nice if he gave us a week anyhow,
Yeah, thank
or
you.
whatever.
I'm there. Thanks.
Well, you're here?
I'm here.
All
You
right.
can go home? I thought you were going home.
Okay, Mayor, we're
All right.
live. You can go.
All right,
Thanks for waiting, everyone.
Sure.
You're welcome. Let's get started. This is the Town Council meeting of North Branford, Connecticut on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. And I have a notice here I'd just like to read so everybody will understand what's going on. It says, in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7B regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting will be held remotely with no in-person attendance. It will be on Totucket TV /Facebook Live at 7 p.m. Okay, I want to start the meeting with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag, United States
to America,
to the republic,
Republic, which is stands
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
liberty,
and justice for all.
all.
Thank you. Michelle, you want to do the roll call?
I'm happy to. Mayor Viglione,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Zampiano,
Here.
Counselor Angeloni,
Here.
Counselor Diamond,
Here.
Counselor Duty,
Here.
Counselor Fawnin,
Here.
Counselor Goad,
Here.
Counselor Paternoster,
Here,
and Counselor Policia.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the minutes of the previous meeting, May 5th, 2020, WPCA and Town Council minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Michelle, the motion was made by Rose and seconded by Marie.
All in favor?
aye,
Opposed? Abstentions?
Okay, next we have the town manager's report, the COVID-19 update.
Yes, so you have a quick short memo in the packet. The latest numbers at this point, although we've been sort of flattening off a little bit, they are still rising, but not as quickly as it has in the past. So we're obviously adhering to the social distancing and wearing of facial coverings. That's helping, but currently we have recorded 75 positive cases, and unfortunately this weekend recorded another fatality, third total fatality for North Branford. So obviously we're not out of the woods yet. We'll continue to be in contact with Mike Pascasella and East Shore Health District almost on a daily basis. And as I wrote in the memo, we're working hard to coordinate and assist businesses that are eligible for a partial reopening next week, which is when I wrote it last week, but as we all know, restaurants are going forward for tomorrow, but salons and barber shops are not. So we did a lot of work in the lead up to what was to be a partial opening for those businesses tomorrow, and a lot of work in terms of seminars to assist business restaurants that may be looking to apply for outdoor seating for their restaurants. So we continue to modify. We have the application process that'll go on the website tomorrow. We've had these Zoom meetings inviting the chamber and other business members to join us to hear about how we can streamline that process. So we'll continue to work with them and walk them through the process and do the best we can to get them ready to open. In the lead up to the opening, we also had planned an event which took place on Saturday, and that was the free mask giveaway to local residents. And I'd like to report that that was really successful, and the numbers on that, we gave away 18,550 masks were distributed. We had the first car lining up at 6:45. We were scheduled to go from 9 to 2, but started early to try to get the first wave of cars through, so we did that. We were doing probably, I think we, according to Jim Buck, we were doing 550 vehicles per hour in the peak, and averaged about 335 vehicles an hour. We had a great team on board that assisted. It was a great effort. We were assisted by the CERT team from North Haven, can't thank them enough, but also Anthony Esposito, Fire Chief Seward, Chief Halloran, Deputy EMD Mark Amachudo, our EMD Jim Buck, obviously coordinating the whole effort, Lieutenant Court Sperry, Detective Sean Anderson, Detective Rob Decco, other officers, Public Works. It was a great effort, and I thought a job well done with respect to the turnout and how smoothly things went. We had to adjust things on the fly, but we learned a lot, and I think we did a great service for the community in getting that done. We had some individuals, senior citizens, and medically fragile that could not get out to the event. So we took names and are still taking names for those individuals, and we're making arrangements to get those packets out to those individuals. So that is ongoing at the moment. And I also wanted to speak about the potential reopening as we move forward, or partial reopening. And as I mentioned in the memo, we're still working on getting some of the supplies that we need, and only today we got the thermometers that we needed. Those are the infrared, no contact thermometers, as something we'll need to in terms of taking precautions with our policy of any reopening would have monitoring and a monitoring log for our employees or anyone that comes in on an appointment basis. We still have to, we're waiting for the sanitary hand sanitizer that finally came in yesterday. So we have to get those dispensers up and distributed. And as you see in the packet, I've also included pictures of some of the departments that were outfitted with the sneeze guard or dividers, the plexiglass, if you will, for our counter space, and now does include the assessor's office, building department, town clerk, finance. And I think we've got just about everything covered in that sense. I'm still working on the policy and procedure, and now that we've got what I think are adequate supplies, although we have to do another round of inventory, make sure that we were covered. I begin to talk with department heads tomorrow morning at a staff meeting to talk about what would be a potential reopening sometime in June, depending on what that feedback and where we are with schedules and staffing. So I think I pretty much covered everything there that I wanted to, and it's a work in progress, so I will hopefully be able to report back for the June 2nd meeting. Any questions?
Okay. No, I guess not. All right, Michael, thank you. You're doing a great job there at the town hall. I've been watching what's going on. And that'll be, June would be great time to, I think, to reopen. The other thing I want to say is the mask giveaway Saturday was a terrific deal. I've had a lot of comments. People on my street have made comments to me, all positive. Everything went nice and smooth. I couldn't believe how easy it ran. I pulled up, I picked up my mask, and I got there. I was on Millen 22, and I said, "Oh boy, it's gonna be a long time. I'm gonna be here for half an hour." In 10 minutes, I was all done, and I stopped and talked to Billy Seward and Mark Amatrudo and everybody else along the way. And 10 minutes, I was out of there with the mask. It was a great effort by everybody that was there. I really appreciate everything that was done. Makes this a great town. to live in.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. It was definitely a team
welcome.
effort, and I hope I didn't miss anybody. But we had a number of individuals out there, and it all came together. And fortunate for us, we had just fantastic weather. So the weather held up, and that was a big plus for us as well. So a lot of good
So
feedback.
thank you.
Sure.
Thank everyone again. I really appreciate it. I know we all do. Okay, you all set, Mike?
Yeah, I just wanted to, nothing really in terms of COVID, but I just want to maybe take this opportunity before you go into the next item. Just maybe, you know, I outlined some best practices, so it may be helpful for me to just kind of review or go through those as reminders that, you know, it helps us get through the meeting if we can mute and do things of that nature and wait to be recognized by you as chair. But, you know, reminding all participants that the council meetings are public meetings, that members will follow the same rules and procedures as if they were meeting in the town council. So, you know, if we don't mute, we often hear the texting and phone calls and or background noise or background conversations. So if we could just, you know, mute yourself on that, and also just kind of, you know, also state your name so that the clerk can pick that up for the record, and remain muted until you're recognized. And then, of course, you've got participants in public comment, and if they could wait to be recognized by the chair and try to follow a limit their comments to a couple of minutes, that would help us get through the meeting. So that's all.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Sure.
All right, next, we're gonna move into citizens' statements and petitions and correspondence. We have, tonight, we have a couple of proclamations here. We have one for National Police Week, which was last week, but we decided to do it tonight. Also, the next, there's two proclamations. The next one is National EMS Week. And I'm gonna have Ron do that one. I'm gonna do the police week, and I'll do that right now. And by the way, when I was in Hamden, I worked with EMS. I was an EMT myself for 30 years, and I also worked with the police in Hamden. And can't say enough about you guys. Okay, let me do the Proclamation National Police Week. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day. He also established National Police Week. And whereas Police Officers Memorial Day and Police Week is an observance that pays tribute to the local, state, and federal peace officers who have died or have been disabled in the line of duty. And whereas the crisis that our nation is currently facing with the coronavirus pandemic may have resulted in the cancellation of public gatherings, many states and departments have continued to recognize National Police Week as a dedicated time to honor, remember, and celebrate American law enforcement. Now, therefore, be it resolved that May 10th through 16th, 2020 shall hereby be known as National Police Week in North Branford, and on behalf of the Town Council and by the powers granted to me by the Town Charter, I hereby honor all law enforcement officers who paid the ultimate sacrifice. This is dated this 15th day of May, 2020, and authorized by me. Okay, thank you. Ron, do you want to do EMS?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Proclamation National EMS Week. Whereas in 1974, President Gerald Ford authorized EMS Week to celebrate EMS practitioners and the life-saving work they do in communities all across the United States. And whereas Connecticut has 169 towns and approximately 3.5 million residents, EMS personnel are continuously responding to calls day and night. And whereas EMS practitioners come from all walks of life, they are in the profession of safeguarding the health, safety, and well-being of their communities and should be celebrated. Now, therefore, be it resolved that May 17th through the 23rd 2020 shall hereby be known as National EMS Week in North Branford, and on behalf of the Town Council and by the powers granted by me, I'm reading for the mayor, the town charter, I hereby extend our gratitude in all EMS practitioners and medical personnel for your dedication and service to the community. Dated this 19th day of May, 2020, and authorized by our Honorable Mayor, Robert Viglione. With this being said, I just wanted to make note that we last week lost one of our EMS providers, Antonio Grandetti. He was a member of Company 4 and dedicated a lot of his time and energy to the town. Antonio was a great person. I knew him from my time volunteering at Company 4, and also worked with him when I worked part-time at Yale. Like I said, Antonio was a great guy. He was married, had 2 twins, 5 years old, and I attended his funeral this past week. And I just want to say thank you again to Chief Seward and the rest of the fire department for allowing me to participate in that. They did an amazing job and honored him really the way he should be honored. So I just wanted to make note that we appreciate Antonio Grandetti and all he did for the town, and thank you to the fire department.
Thank you, Ron, well said. Okay. All right, we're gonna move into resignations and appointments. Here, I'm gonna cancel the second appointment. Will be, I want to look into that a little bit more before that gets done. So we'll go with appointment A, and that's Walter Gold, member of the Town Council, to the Ad Hoc Building Design and Review Committee.
So moved. This was Rose.
Second.
Okay,
Tom
Michelle,
seconded.
thanks, Tommy. Michelle, a motion made by Rose, seconded by Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion? All right, roll call, vote.
Okay.
Vote.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone would like to abstain?
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Next, we have new business discussion and action. The first,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make 2 motions to amend the agenda.
Okay,
The first one would be 6G, appointment of Park and Rec Director. So I'll do them separately, so we'll do the first one is to amend the agenda for the Park Rec Director.
okay,
I'll second that.
okay. Motion made by Rose, right? You did it, Rose?
Yes.
Seconded by Marie. Any discussion? Vote, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And the next item would be 6H,
H.
and it's regarding the North Branford High School building project, moving it to the ad hoc committee.
Second.
Okay. Okay, motion was made by Rose, seconded, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Was it Tommy?
Yeah, Tom.
Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion? Roll call, vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Okay, thank you, Rose. Under new business discussion and action, we have review and decision on the Potato and Corn Festival, POCO 2020.
Right, so this was the item you were,
Mike, do you have anything on that?
yeah, sorry, just had to unmute. Yeah, so this was the item you had held and wanted to look at in May to give yourself more time to look, and I just put together a short memo to give you an idea that I'm sure you've already heard, the list of festivals that have already decided and made a decision to cancel, some small, some large, and all over the state. So nothing new there, I think, with respect to what was forecasted. And unfortunately, it's the same, recommendation coming back from Health Department that it's virtually impossible to social distance and then follow the rules in a fair of our size and the amount of people that we have and the crowds that we have. So it's up for discussion, but the recommendation is that out of abundance of caution and safety to cancel the festival.
I'd like to make a motion that the 2020 POCO Festival is canceled based on the recommendations from the town manager and the health officials, and we'll come back bigger and stronger in 2021.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Rose. I don't know who seconded it. I didn't get that.
It was me.
Or Ron. Either one.
Me or Joe, take your pick.
Take your choice, Michelle. Take your pick. All right. Any discussion?
Yes, I have two things. One, I just have a question for the town attorney. I know part of the concern of the Park and Rec Commission was the current contracts that we have that are multi-year contracts would postponing, due to the COVID, postponing the POCO Fest for a year. Does that do anything to the contracts to extend them? Has been there?
Yeah, he's muted. He's still muted, but he's on the call. So,
Okay.
Vin, yeah.
I'll bring up my second point until Vin comes on. So the second issue deals with the POCO coordinator, which last year in March of 2019, the town council had voted and made a motion that that position is solely under the direction of the Park and Rec Commission. And I know that they interviewed earlier this year in 2020, prior to COVID, for a coordinator. We had brought back Jen McCullough as an interim. She did apply for the position, and I believe that was their recommendation to go forward, but that has not been finalized. So I would just like to make a note that this should go back to the Park and Rec Commission to let them finalize that, because there is going to be issues that have to come with the closing, with the cancellation of the POCO Fest. There are going to be things that need to be done for this year, refunds to be made, and then they do start back up like in August and September for the next year. So I would like to have that noted, that goes back to the Park and Rec Commission. And I see Vin is back on. Did you hear my question, Vin?
I'm sorry, I did not. I was trying to resolve a speaker issue.
Okay, so one of the reasons the Park and Rec Commission had asked the council to wait until mid-May to make a decision was because of their multi-year contracts. They wanted to know if this would have any effect of extending them. If they were like in the second year of a contract, would it extend it, or how would that be handled?
Yeah, I do not believe it extends it. The contracts have a specific term that have dates in it. There's no suspension or tolling language in the contract that would make me believe in any way that the the terminal date of the contract would be anything other than what is stated in the contract.
So if one of the vendors that has a multi-year contract, if they negotiate it with us and we're willing to do that, that's okay, they can go ahead and do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, any contract can be brought back to the council at any time for purposes of negotiation as to any of the terms.
Okay.
Then what about for this year? Are we on the hook for paying anybody that's not going to be performing, but they're under contract, so we might have an obligation to pay them?
Yeah, I asked for all of the contracts, and quite frankly, I don't know if I've gotten them all. So I'm not going to give you a complete answer tonight, but I'll try to give you an update for your next meeting. I just have to check with Michelle to make sure I've gotten all of the contracts related to that event.
Okay, I see Jen McCullough is on, and she is our POCO Fest coordinator, so maybe she has some more information she would like to share with us.
Hi guys, I hope everyone's doing good. So I guess my one question is, for example, the amusement company is one that we were in a 3-year agreement with, and that's something we did have to go out to bid for. Would we have to go out again, I guess is my question. Or could we just go for the 3rd year because we didn't get a 2nd year?
I'm not sure Vin can hear you.
Again, I'm having speaker issues, so I think I heard every 3rd word Jen said. And now I'm going to just lean in because I'm going to go off my computer speaker, but go ahead.
The amusement company is our 3-year contract.
Okay.
So if we don't, if next year is their 3rd year and it expires, but we wanted to continue using them, do we have to go out through the whole bid process again? Or because we didn't use all 3 years, can we just extend it?
I think there's normally language in the contracts that I've seen in North Branford that has a right of extension. So again, we'll have to, don't think of the original term and whether or not you used any time period in that original term as giving you any wiggle room to extend. But oftentimes, like particularly with when we go out for bid, it's maybe a 3-year window with the right to extend for 2 years.
Okay.
So if you want to forward me that contract, I'll take a look at it. It'll take me a couple minutes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Vin, this is Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. A lot of the contracts are written that they could be a 3-year contract, but they have to be awarded each year. So we're going to have to look at each of the individual contracts to see how they were originally written. And like Vin said, they could be a 3-year contract with 2 1-year extensions, whatever. So we have so many contracts until I get them all to Vin. And we can talk to tomorrow, Vin. I'll be in the office, which ones you may be missing. But some of them are only for the 1 year, maximum 3. So the terminology in every contract could be different. So it isn't necessarily that they're guaranteed 3 years. It's up to a maximum of 3 years or up to a maximum of 5 years, that type of language. So that'll be something Vin will have to decipher after I get him whatever ones he's still missing, okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Sure.
After spending 17 years of it.
Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, so I know Park and Rec is having a special meeting next Tuesday. So I see the chair is on here too. I just want them to be aware that the position of the POCO coordinator, that is in your hands to settle that out for hire, whatever you want to do on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I could just jump in, Mayor, there are still one or two individuals that haven't muted. Where Michelle, that might be yours. I'm not sure, but we're getting some feedback. If people could, I'm hearing background information or background voices. So if we could have everybody mute, that would be great. Not Michelle Pollack. I think you were already muted, but Michelle Knockwood. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else? Anybody have anything to say? Okay, we'll move on.
No, we have to vote. The motion's still on the floor.
Okay. Who made the motion? Was it you, Rose?
Yeah.
Okay, who seconded it? I didn't get it.
Ron,
Ron. Okay, did you get that, Michelle?
I did.
It was to cancel the
Okay.
COCO.
I found this on the web.
Okay, any other discussion?
With all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next we have award of bid number 16, 2019-2020, masonry repairs in North Branford Auditorium.
Yes, so you have a memo in the packet of the responses, the 6 bidders, and Frank Capasso and Sons of Northford, local bidder, was a low bidder. I had asked that Fran Marola, and unfortunately Fran couldn't be part of the meeting tonight, but I asked Fran, along with Bill Chody and Al Rose, to review the bids and the responses, just given the fact that the obvious is that there's a large spread between the low bidder and the high bidder, and so they went through that and checked that, and they were unanimous in their selection and or not selection, but so much their review to say that Frank Capasso is certainly a reputable bidder, knows the industry, performs great work, and understands the project probably better than anyone, because he was on site multiple times and helped with the original bid spec before we split the two projects up, or he actually he didn't work on this spec, he worked on the spec for MBIS. So he was on site quite a bit and understood how much linear foot was needed in terms of repointing. And this really isn't a repointing as it is more of a cleaning and sealing project. So I checked in with Fran, discussed it with him again today. They're comfortable in recommending Frank Capasso and Sons as the low bidder.
Mike Walco, could I ask a question of you?
Sure.
Do you know the linear feet?
500.
Okay, because maybe I'm reading this wrong, but when I look at Capasso and Sons, I'm seeing $20 a linear foot.
Yes, and that's listed there. If in the spec it was listed as what they identified as 500 linear feet of repointing that needs to be done. We put in a alternate feature in there, and should they find more than 500 feet that we've already identified, then they put in a linear foot cost for repair.
What I'm not understanding though is when you look at the other quotes. For instance, the one of them is for $5 a linear foot.
Mm-hmm.
So how is their number higher than his? When they're $5 linear foot, he's 20. Am I reading it wrong?
No, you're right. It goes from all the way, from the low of 5 to the high of 20, and that's based on my understanding, based on the fact that if they're going to go beyond that, that's what the additional cost is, and I'm not sure why there's even a spread in with the linear foot cost, but
But I'm kind of confused there, because if somebody's 5 a linear foot and he's 20, how are they so much more than him?
Yeah, I don't know. There wasn't.
Something's definitely wrong in that.
Yeah, other
Not
than,
that-
yeah.
They must be somebody's figuring the wrong linear feet, right? Because they have, their numbers per linear foot are cheaper than his. So how is their number so high?
Yeah, they may have, unfortunately, we were very specific in the spec to list the 500, and maybe what happened with the calculation is they looked at the size of the building and calculated a different number based on square foot or what they came up with. But we were very specific in the bid to say there was 500 linear feet, so I'm not
Right.
sure why they came up.
So it is
large number.
500, and Frank's, so Capasso's is for the 500 linear feet.
Correct.
But what we don't know, excuse me, Mike, this is Tom. So, but we don't know the other contractors, did they bid on 500 square feet or did they bid on something else?
I don't have that level of detail, nor do I think the bid didn't ask to break it down. It was just, we had explained the fact that it would be what we identified, potentially more, and that's why we asked them beyond, if they found something beyond the 500 foot, that they would have a unit price for that. I don't know that there's a level of detail that shows how they got to their calculation.
I mean, I know Frank's a reputable guy, and he should get it if his price is the cheapest. But I mean, this is a great price compared to everybody else's. But it sounds like Tom's seeing the same thing. Did they bid on the same thing that he bid on?
Yeah, right. I know that's the first thing that came to mind when I looked at it, and that's why I asked Fran and the committee to go through it again. And again, it could be other functions that we're not aware of in terms of maybe a union shop versus a non-union shop. I'm not sure, but that won't explain all of it.
Do you think we should maybe just kind of get it squared away, because it's something's definitely wrong?
Yeah, before we make any decisions, it's Bob Viglione. Before we make any decisions, I think that's a good idea, Walt.
Can I hop in?
There
Guys,
are spreads between every bid that you're gonna see, and Mike's seen them over the years, I've seen them over the years. You got the low bid, it's a customer in town. I'll make the motion that we go with the low bid.
I'll second it. Lou.
Guys, I just want to jump in and say something really quick before we get to that point. It's Ron. We did say that he's been to the site and he knows the project better than anybody else. So I don't think there's probably many mistakes, if any, on his quote. And the other thing to keep in mind that I'm thinking about when I'm hearing you guys talk, you guys are all bringing up really good points, is that if the other people that bid on it did not read the bid spec appropriately and bid on something they weren't supposed to bid on, then that's on them, and that also means that they're not that thorough. So I would say, go with Frank, and he's been out there, he knows the site, and I'd be in support of giving it to him at this point.
Hey, this is Tom. I don't disagree with that, Ron, but I guess the question is, when they submit a proposal, I would assume the proposal has detail in it, and I would assume that spells out what they're quoting. And that's all the question is, what are they quoting? I mean, that shouldn't, that should be pretty clear. They're either quoting 500 square feet or not.
Yeah.
So Tom, that's a great point. I guess my feelings is, if Frank has the lowest bid and he knows the job better than anybody else, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but what does it matter?
Mr. Mayor, this is Michelle. Can I jump in on the specs for the project?
Absolutely.
They were very clear as to what they were to bid on. They were, the specs were written by Martin Bonazzi, the architect, and it did say in there the 500 lineal foot. We always ask for an alternate of an individual price So once we decide we're going to award, we will have that information in front of us. And if I remember correctly, there were 2 bidders at $20 a lineal foot, and then the other ones went from $5 to $8 or $9 a lineal foot. But the specs are very clear what they were to bid on, and I believe it was Ron that said if they don't read it properly, then, you know, that's not the onus of the town that they can't read the spec. It was a complete package. It's their responsibility to know what they're bidding on. And one of them came in very high. I think it was $160,000. So I'm not quite sure what they were looking at that would have ever cost $160,000. But the specs are very clear, Tom. It was very clear in there, the 500 lineal foot. And the unit price is just in case it goes over that.
Okay, thank you.
That was the reason, that was the reason I made my motion, was we're not here to police, you know, the bids. We're here to pick the lowest bidder, lowest great bidder or reasonable bidder. And that's my feeling, is we have the lowest reasonably priced bidder. So that's why I awarded it that way.
I hope everybody understands why I brought it up, though. I mean, I think it's great that Frank should get this because they're the local guy and their price is good, but I just happen to see these numbers being so far off. I just asked the question because it just, something seemed wrong, but hey, I agree. If he can do it and he's that cheap and that's the lowest price, let's go with it. But I hope you understand why I brought it up, because to me, it just kind of stood out that something was off.
Well, I thought the same thing for a minute, Walt. That was Bob Viglione. I thought the same thing for a minute. It just didn't look right to me. But if this is the case and it's a great company and we got a great price.
So we'll go,
good
I think it's a great thing to go with it then. I've just kind of mentioned, I happen to see the numbers being so off. That's why I brought it up. It's kind of caught my eye.
So can I clarify that it was Counselor Judy that moved and Counselor Paternoster that seconded?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Would anyone like to abstain? Okay, thank you.
I just have one other question before we go off of this. It's for Anthony Esposito. I know based on the original estimate that we got on this project, we had to add money to this fund. I know it's in the CIP and we have more money. So it looks like there's probably going to be substantial money over budgeted for this project at this point in time. So then we could just reallocate that after it's done with over to the NBIS project, which is we're probably going to need more money for.
Exactly right.
Okay.
A question for Michelle Knockwood. Michelle, this is for the brick repair and sealing of the brick. Is that true?
Not sure if she's still on, Mike, but yeah, that's pretty much the.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm here, yes, I'm sorry. I was looking at the bid results. I was trying to find them in my computer. What was that question?
It was the brick repair and sealing of the brick, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on here. Next is, C is discussion on RFQ/P for North Branford Police Facility, Architectural and Engineering Service.
Yeah, so we, Mayor, we had a few questions that come up in terms of the review and trying to put this package together, and have outlined in a memo. And since then, I think we've had a few more questions come up, but one of them was about whether or not we address the energy efficiency of the building with either LEED certified, or, as we learned in the high school, there's something out there called, what is it called?
Net zero.
Net zero. Thank you very much, Councilor Angeloni. Yeah, net zero. So I'm not sure what the target would be on this, but it's certainly an integral, important piece of that. And I'm not sure, you know, what. And of course, there's costs involved with trying to hit those targets. So that and the.
I did some looking into it, and the LEED certification is what we're looking for. The second question was, when we have design plans, then we'll kick it to the ad hoc design review committee, but not before. We have some drawings. And then we definitely don't want the architect to oversee the program. Because we'll have a condition like at the intermediate school.
Okay. More of a construction management or owner's rep for that as well.
Yeah, well, that could be done later. That doesn't have to be in a
Can we just
specification.
Can we just back up to item 1? All in favor of a LEED certified building, but can we get that, if it's not too onerous, as an alternative so that we know the cost difference and the potential savings by being LEED certified versus non-LEED certified?
Mm-hmm.
Councilor Vaughn. Hi, it's Michelle. Yes, that would go into part of the state project. So it would be an additional line item that they would give us and ask for some type of recommendation and or cost savings for that. That's an alternate to the project. It will not be part of the base proposal.
All right, I'm not sure I understand. They give us a base proposal and then they give us an alternative. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it was in an alternate to see what the cost would be for the building to become LEED certified, which can be very expensive, but over time you would save money on a LEED project, but there's a lot to get LEED certification also. So the architect would have to come up with a base price to do the original construction contract documents, and then a cost to get the building for LEED certification. So it would be an ad alternate on the proposal page.
Okay, that works.
Hey, can I jump in for a second? It's Commissioner Peter Andrea. The LEED certification for the energy efficient building with lighting, heating, and all that, to meet those certifications might, but due to it's a police department, some of the requirements for tamper-proof lighting and all kinds of switches and certain things might not fit into that profile, so we need to be aware of that. You know, in order to be LEED certified, it requires high efficiency lights, but some of the cell lights and some of the stuff that we're required by law in the cells and some of the areas and rooms might not meet those specs, so just be aware of that, okay? They don't sell a product for that.
Okay, thank you, Vic. Okay, any other discussion?
No, I'll continue to work on this, and thank you for the guidance on that. And I've had Kurt Weiss to take a look at it as well. We're trying to work off some other documents that we've seen from other police departments as well to get the spec is to a level we can also have comfort with before it goes out. So maybe possibly having a draft for the council on the June 2nd.
Okay,
June
thank
2nd.
you, Mike.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on. Next is appropriation transfers.
Okay, so
I hope you had the opportunity to get the revised sheet that I sent out this morning. There were a couple of things that came in after the deadline, and we wanted to get them into this meeting if possible.
I do have that, Anthony, that I'll include in the motion.
Could you just run through them, Anthony? Because I'm sure it's in my Dropbox and I never looked.
There was an additional one that was added for the fire department, taking money from their printing and binding and professional development totaling $2,900 and moving it to equipment maintenance to take care of a battery charging system and some emergency warning devices. There was also, I believe, one that was added was for communications, taking it out of other contractual and moving it to tech supplies and equipment maintenance, to purchase a computer rack to clean up some of the excessive wires and comply with the fire marshal's findings, and maintenance to cover some higher cost radio repairs.
So how do you want that outlined in the minutes? Because I've had the police department, equipment maintenance, $2,500 to technical supplies.
Did I send you the revised sheet, Michelle, as well today?
Possibly. My emails are all over the place. You can't even imagine how many. As a teacher, I'm in like 15 different classrooms and get messages from each. So sometimes I miss things.
We'll just make sure that you have the revised appropriation transfer, which has all of this on.
Okay, I'll search it. Okay, thank you.
So I'd like to make a motion that the North Branford Town Council hereby approves the following appropriation transfers as recommended by the town manager and the treasurer finance director. And it's $2,500 in the police department, $2,900 in the fire department, $6,800 in communications, $78,155 in an operating transfer. It's and that large one is to the issuance cost of the bonds, and $1,500 in the elderly housing overage.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Anthony,
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
the question, Bob. Anthony, the $78,000 transfer, that's recoupable as part of the bond itself once approved and funded?
Right, this is the refinancing that we did. The issuance costs are actually shown in the revenue part. When we get to the next item, I'll point out where they are in the revenue side. This is the fiscal agent fees, obviously were non-budgeted. So it shows an over expenditure on the expense side and an over positive favor variance on the revenue side.
Okay, so bottom line, it's recouped.
Yes, exactly, I'm sorry.
Okay. Motion was made by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by, I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Counselor Diamond.
Councilor Diamond, thank you. Any further discussion? Vote, please.
With all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Would anyone like to abstain?
Okay, next we have e-financial report as of April 30th, 2020.
Yes, I'd like to just point out on the top section, the revenue section, the third item up from the bottom, you'll see bond proceeds. There was zero budgeted and we took in 80,000. That 80,000 covers the roughly 80,000 that we just transferred on the expense side. So to go back to Councilor Fawnin's comment, the money did come in, but it has to be shown as revenue versus the expense. Aside from that, there's a couple of departments that are showing over expended. We just took care of a couple of them with the elderly housing transfer and the debt service transfer. The technology, it's not over expended actual out the door expenditures. When you focus on the encumbrances, it does bring it over expended, but we'll wait to see how those shake out the rest of the year. Aside from that, the report remains unremarkable. Tax collections remain strong. Interest remains strong. I will tell you that the interest rates that we're getting on our CDs currently, as they mature, is significantly less. We were getting roughly around 2% for a 3-year CD, and now we're getting about a 0.9, 0.95 as of about 2 weeks ago. So we try to ladder out the CDs to maximize the town's investment income. Two things I'd like to bring up, if I could, and report on a going forward basis as well, as it relates to the COVID-19, is two items. The expenditures to date through last Friday are roughly $28,350. I have to give a report to the state. It's interesting because with this COVID-19, there's actually two pots of money that we might be able to be recovered our costs through. The first is right through the state of Connecticut, and the second is a typical FEMA designation where you historically got 75% reimbursement. They have found a loophole through a CDBG grant where you can get the other 25%, so that would cost us nothing out of pocket. So we're going to apply for both. We're going to go through the state to get the initial money, and the FEMA grant has a window that goes actually through December 31st, I believe. So that's the guidance we're getting, is go for the state money now and then keep the FEMA money in your back pocket as this plays out longer. The second item related to the COVID is you may have seen or heard that there's the tax deferral program that you folks blessed a couple meetings ago. And to date, we've had, I believe, 12 folks apply for that. And the tax deferral amount is roughly $57,000. So not a huge response so far, but I will update this every meeting for you guys to show you how many people have applied for the tax deferral and the amount of taxes that will be impacted by the deferral program. As of right now, it's very minor and very manageable. That's it.
So is that it?
I can't, you froze, Anthony. I can't hear anything.
So at this point, we're looking at the citizens' statements and petitions.
No tax funds.
Yeah.
Tax refund.
We still have some item agendas, sorry.
Yeah.
Tax refunds.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, I missed part of that. I'm sorry.
So we're on the next item agenda, Bob, on tax.
Parks and
Tax
Parks.
refunds.
Right.
Okay, yeah, approval of tax refunds.
So Councilor Diamond moved, Councilor Angeloni seconded to approve the tax refunds as listed by the town financial advisor.
Excellent.
So looking for any discussion? With all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Okay, next we have letter G, Parks and Rec. The director, I believe, is what it's about. Rose, you want to say
Yes.
something about that?
I'd like to make a motion in accordance with section C63 of the Charter of the Town of North Branford. The Town Council hereby confirms the town manager's appointment of Jesse Caetano of Middletown, Connecticut, to serve as the Recreation Director with a starting salary of $74,000.
Second.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Councilor Fawnin. Any discussion on that?
What's the effective date?
We don't know.
Yeah.
To be determined.
To be determined.
Okay.
Depends on how much of a notice does she have to give.
Right.
And I'll receive a motion. You get that right? I think in accordance with C63, town manager appoints Jesse, and I did not get the last name.
Michelle, I can send that over to you. It's Jesse Caetano. I'll give you the copy of the memo. Caetano, and I'll send you a copy of the motion, prepared motion.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Mike, when you figure that out, can you send us a start date?
Yeah.
And we can put it in the minutes.
Sure.
Okay, I believe the motion was made by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Councilor Cronin. Any more discussion? Can we have a vote, Michelle?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Would anyone like to abstain?
No.
So I know Jesse's on this call, and I would just like to welcome her to North Branford, and we all look forward to working with you, Jesse.
Welcome.
Congratulations, Jesse.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Jesse.
Welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, congratulations. Next we have, H is high school. Move to ad hoc. I don't know, Mike, did you? Was that you?
No, that was me.
Rose made that.
Oh, Rose, I'm sorry.
It's just
Okay.
to formally move the North Branford High School renovation project over to the ad hoc committee so that so it's now in their hands, and then they can start their work on that project and report back to the council. So I'd like to make a motion to move the North Branford High School renovation project to the ad hoc committee.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion was made by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Councilor Diamond. Any more discussion on this?
Mike, can you just reach out to the superintendent and just let them know that at their board meeting on Thursday, they need to appoint someone to that committee? That's the only position that's still open.
Right, sure will, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a vote, Michelle?
I guess. I'm not sure what we're voting on, but I'm sure I'll be filled in, right, Tom?
We're moving the proposed new high school over to the ad hoc committee.
So,
so
okay.
that they could review.
I want to just make sure I get the wording just right. But you guys are aware, so I will just say, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Would anyone like to abstain?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have citizen statements and petitions. Mike, do you have anything?
Just give me one moment to check, please.
Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. I am looking for the public comments email. I do not see any comments at this time. As of 8:07, I do not have any comments, public comment.
Okay. Very good. The next move is adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a
Good night.
great night.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Stay healthy.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take good care.
You too, Michelle.
Thank you.